The indoor enclosure is small and so it is easier to clean for the keepers and makes it easier to keep the tapirs warm during the winter. However, the indoor enclosure may be too small for a breeding pair. The indoor enclosure had concrete floor which would make it easier to disinfect. There was a hay rack present in the corner for them. However, there was no water available indoors which we could see. This may be due to them being messy and getting their bedding soaked. The rest of their food is most likely scatter-fed since there were no troughs, and troughs could be added for them during winter to prevent their food from being covered in mud.
The first part of their outdoor enclosure, which surrounds their indoor shed, contains a concrete slab surrounding the shed, which then spreads out into a compact sandy base. This is very effective in the winter at keeping the ground at a reasonable consistency. For example, if it was mud substrate, then this would become very slippery and messy in bad weather, which could increase the chances of foot problems for the animals, as well as difficulty keeping the animals and the area clean for the keepers. This area then leads into the main enclosure for a gate which can be locked.
Their main enclosure is a paddock with various trees and logs. At the time we went to the zoo, the ground was very muddy and there wasn't any grass, but there was some daffodils and shrubbery at the back of the enclosure. This is a good enclosure for them as it provides a lot of space as well as enrichment and trees to scratch on, yet it probably gets very muddy in the winter.
This shows the tapir pond and it's surrounded by logs and rocks. It's surrounded by mud. It's quite deep and allows them to wallow. It's important to have a pond, but to prove you could surround it with concrete to keep it cleaner and make it safe for the staff as it's less slippery.
The indoor enclosure is safe and secure with a lockable stable door to ensure the tapirs can't escape and cause injury to themselves. The fences around the enclosure are made from a suitable material of wooden posts and metal wire. This is double fenced with about a metre in between for extra safety. This is safe and has no sharp edges, and the wood is treated so that it doesn't splinter or rot away. The indoor enclosure is regularly cleaned and disinfected, which gets rid of bacteria and diseases which may be present, as well as the pond being emptied and refilled every 2 weeks.
The tapirs at the zoo are kept in a breeding pair, so should always be housed together. They are unlikely to fight. However, if this does occur, the first enclosure with the indoor sleeping area can be shut off from the main enclosure until the situation can be resolved.
It allows for natural behaviour as there's enrichment like logs and trees. The mud allows them to roll and get rid of flies. The rocks and trees act as perfect scratching posts as well as provide foraging areas. Enrichment balls hang from trees to encourage them to stretch for their food. The pond allows them to wallow and swim. This helps cool them in the heat.